Welcome to Realty Hack, where we go over the tips and tricks of top producing agents around the country. If you are watching this video on Facebook and you would like to be subscribed to future videos, or you would like to look at our previous videos, type the word agent in the remarks below and our chat bot will engage and walk you through subscribing for future broadcasts. I'm Ryan Rodenbeck. I'm the owner of Spyglass Realty, and today I am pleased to be interviewing Laura Monroe. Laura has been a staple in the real estate community on the national scene for many, many years. She started a business that helped agents with, virtual marketing, and then she was the director of industry engagement and social media for Inman for a few years. She was an editor with 60 contributors and hosted a weekly webinar with them as well. She's now with Real Estate Webmasters and the head of industry and brand engagement. So I am going to bring Laura into the show here. Okay, so I've got Laura. How are you, Laura?
I'm good. How are you today?
Doing good.
Good. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
We're going to be kind of this is a new segment where we're going to be repurposing this for a podcast. So you'll be
great.
the first guest.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, my first question for you is you were with Inman for a few years, and I find that really interesting. I'm a contributing writer for Inman, been doing it for almost a year now. I think it's kind of like, I was also on the board of directors with Austin Abor, and writing for Inman is similar in the way that it has you look at your industry in a way you probably wouldn't have looked at it any other way.
Right.
Being involved in that. So tell me about your time there.
Sure.
Inman. What did you do? How did you get there? What did you do?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So I was really fortunate to join Inman during a time when social media was just taking off. And it was one of these amazing situations where I'd been a consultant for a long time, doing blogging, building websites for agents, doing tons of virtual marketing and listing coordination in the Bay Area. I had my own firm, so I was working with several teams. But when I joined Inman, it was like moving, like you just said, moving from that perspective of your own micro business level to opening it up to a whole national level. And my particular role covered at the time, it covered quite a bit. But the main role was around the social media because it really was just taking off. Mm-hmm. And we had very specific goals at Inman to really not just engage with the community that was really just starting to take off, but we were also one of the leading voices in helping to educate agents around these new and exciting tools, how to use them. They're inexpensive. You can download them right to your phone. Agents were becoming more mobile, and technology was really taking off. So there was both this component of using social media to build the Inman brand and really connect with the community. And then there was also the education component of it, along with just the regular media. And I think what made Inman really special at that time too was that we were directly engaging with agents and brokerages and technology companies in brand new ways. It wasn't just receiving blog posts and press releases, but it really was going out and seeing what conversations were happening on social media. So it was a really exciting time. So my role was to build out a strategy around social media, build out our subscribers and our readers. I built our contributor group up to about 60 contributors. So at that time, there was really only a couple of bloggers on staff plus the journalists. And Brad decided, you know what, we really want to bring in some new voices. And I was in charge of bringing in those new voices and bringing in those new pieces of articles and really getting the boots on the ground stories from agents and brokerages every single day. And then the webinar side was really just working with the technology providers to really get them to open up and talk about their products, kind of do a lot of walkthroughs and bring those to agents and brokers in a way that they didn't really feel they were being sold to, that it was a learning experience. So everything that I did was around education.
So your job was, basically building a community of, this was like the first, when you first started having, people like me that are agents that are writing for Inman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in kind of increasing the engagement. I mean, I've only been involved with Inman, so I don't really know what it was like before, but now we have the, is that the Coast to Coast community?
So I started that group.
Okay.
That was something that it initially started because we had Inman Connect in San Francisco and Inman Connect in New York.
Yeah.
And we wanted to build excitement around those two events, and we wanted to do it throughout the year because as you probably know, as soon as New York is finished, now we're focused on San Francisco.
Yep.
And we really wanted to keep the excitement and the engagement and bring people into that event experience, even from, our new planning level.
Yeah.
So we started that group mainly around the events, which is why it was called Coast to Coast. But what ended up happening was, just more and more people were joining, talking about their businesses. We made Inman very accessible to agents and brokers to really have the conversations that were affecting them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly important for Inman to be able to have that feedback loop from the industry itself. So that group became not just around the excitement and the photos, and we had our ambassadors come in from the events and really do quite a bit, but it became a place where Brad felt comfortable coming in and having some conversation. I mean, I've got to credit Brad Inman for being literally one of the most accessible, founders of a media publishing company ever. I mean, I just don't think you can really go out and have those kinds of conversations and accessibility with someone at that level. So it's
and he's got a thick skin, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, people will call him out on stuff in there,
absolutely.
And I don't. Sometimes they have relevance, sometimes they don't, and it doesn't faze him.
No.
It doesn't appear to faze him.
Well, it does. He does care. He does care, which is why it's important for him to be accessible and be in the middle of it. But I do think that because of that, when you are accessible like that, and people do have access to you to be able to complain and leave comments and do whatever, that he looks at it in a very positive way, which is this is what, even though I'm sad that they're upset about something, on the other hand, it gives me an opportunity to really see the flip side of these different conversations and make decisions around how we are building content. Everything at Inman is, I love Inman because they're always pushing the envelope around innovation, even as an organization. Meaning that if headlines come out that seem rather different, or it's not the old Inman, I hear that a lot. It's not the old Inman, or I don't like this path of content. It's really because they're experimenting with really what resonates. So when they see traffic go up at certain types of content, then they continue to try to drive those conversations and build on that.
And let's be honest, real estate is a diverse group of people, right? I mean, you look at people like, nowadays, it used to be maybe, 10 years ago, it was very, it could be everybody can be put into like just a couple buckets, right? Indie broker, big box broker, maybe some one or two others, but now you've got iBuyers, you've got, discount brokerages, like discount brokerages to agents, you've got discount brokerages, and you've got indie brokers, you've got big indie brokers, small indie brokers, big boxes, and they all have different, what we have to realize, and it's taken me a long time to figure this out, is that, look, these iBuyers, I think the next recession will take a lot of people out, but I think that there will still be lots of buckets.
Absolutely.
And I think
I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed in the industry is that, 10 years ago, when social media was the thing, it really was how agents were trying to figure out how to use new tools. But the business models really didn't change very much. An agent was an agent, a broker was a broker. Yes, there were franchises. Yes, there were some independents, but largely the brokerage models themselves were set, and we had our Keller Williams of the world, and that's the way the world ran.
Yeah.
Now, those business models, to your point, are changing,
Yep.
meaning they're changing from the top all the way down.
Yep.
So it's sort of flipped the conversations from how are you improving your business using this social media app, or this piece of paperless documentation, or this transaction software, now to completely changing business models.
Yeah.
And that is affecting culture. It's affecting organization. It's affecting vision.
Yep.
It's affecting how we build tools around that constant change.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference that I see. So yes, as these recessions come and go, I think what you're talking about is these business models are really going to hit some of that
Yeah,
recession
I
challenges.
think that some of them are going to be here to stay. And you know, one of the things that I did, you know, long ago was starting to embrace my competition. Right.
Yes,
With
I
some of
love
my
that.
best friends in town are my competitors. You know,
Yes.
and what I realized is it's beneficial not just in the friendship, but also in the optics. Like, you know, people,
Yeah,
you should, what is it? I think Tim Ferriss probably took it from someone else, but you're the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. You know?
absolutely.
And when you look at, and it's taken me a hard time, you know, it's taken me a long time to realize that these companies are, they're your competitors. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The competitor is not the enemy. Yes, they are doing things differently, but if you look at them as a true competitor, and you're in the truest sense of the word, what you're going to look at is what are they doing that you could do that you might want to adapt in your business. And then not everything's going to work because your company culture, the way you do things,
Mm-hmm.
but just have more of an open mind about how they are doing things. And you may be able to adapt a couple little things in your business to be able to compete with them more, right? To be able to
Absolutely.
collaborate with them more. So,
Well, I think especially in your market in Austin, you've got some incredible brokerages that are. What I love about Austin is that you really do have a very strong connection to your communities and your buyers and sellers. I'm going to be honest, I don't see that with many other cities.
yeah.
Where independent brokerages have such a strong hold with your hyper local communities at
Absolutely.
all. I mean,
No.
we talk about that at Real Estate Webmasters all the time, where we're like, Austin gets it right. And I think what you're alluding to is that you guys level each other up.
Yeah.
You each have very strong visions, unique value propositions. You don't let fear get in the way
Yeah.
of building and innovating and really building culture
Yeah.
around your businesses and your business models. You don't shy away.
Yeah.
And I think that together, even though, like you said, it's like competition, but you bring out the best in one
Yeah.
another.
And I think, and I've gotten to be really good friends with, you know, a lot of local people, like, you know, Jonathan Boatwright and
Mm-hmm.
Eric Bramlett and Jim Owenbush, and, you know, that are local brokers. This is a very tech savvy city.
Yes,
Okay? I mean,
it
very,
definitely is.
yeah. And there's some very smart people here. But when it comes, you know, you touched on, like, you know, what Austin is local, not just in real estate, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And in every industry. Like, it's people here prefer to go to a local restaurant over a
Big
you know,
box
a big box. Yeah.
chain.
So what you
Mm-hmm.
see with these local brokerages, friends of mine, and there's several more that don't come to mind right now, but like, we feel like we're kind of in it together, compared
Absolutely.
to, you know, when you have people like the Compasses of the world,
Yeah.
and Keller Williams, and even though Keller Williams is local, it's big, you know.
Right.
So it's more of a camaraderie when it comes to that, in my opinion.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about, you know, let's talk about your role with Real Estate Webmaster. So I
Yeah.
am in the Real Estate Webmasters family, as
Yes,
of
you are.
fairly recently, and I've very much enjoyed it there. And, you know, we went to Inman, spent a lot of time with Morgan and you, and the whole family there, Carly. So
Mm-hmm.
got to know each other a lot better, and really felt a really good, felt at home with you guys.
Great.
How
Yeah.
did you get to Real Estate Webmasters, and what are you doing there?
So it's great. It's It's a great story. Morgan and I have known each other since our Inman days. Real Estate Webmasters has been a very prominent, actually before that, when I had my own firm doing virtual marketing work, part of my role was helping agents pick a digital strategy.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was around building a web presence. And Real Estate Webmasters, I grew up with Real Estate Webmasters when it started. It was one of the only custom web design places specifically for real estate.
Yeah.
And it was really one of the only ones that was stable. At the time, there was a lot of cheaper ways to go on the website side, but those servers were crashing constantly. And part of it was just the scale and the growth. But somehow Morgan mastered this business model that he has that allowed people to have a very customized digital lead generation strategy that suited their brand, but also a great way to replicate that without it being too vanilla, without it being too templated.
Yep.
So that allowed people that are independent thinkers and the tech savvy people and the ones that really want to own their digital presence to really be that mad scientist.
Yeah.
So I met Morgan more personally, hands-on at Inman. He was a sponsor, and I was working directly with him and his team. One year he brought in Barbara Corcoran, which he, kind of did a memory the other day of.
Yeah,
he brought in Barbara Corcoran. So we've just always had this really great relationship. And, I had moved through a couple of different technology companies. When I left Inman, I moved into technology company of Real Satisfied, which was then acquired by Playster, which moved me back into the web design space.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really, I stayed there for a year, but it wasn't a good fit for me. I just didn't like the direction that was going. And so I started with another independent brokerage built technology company.
Yeah.
That I worked with 1000 Watt, I worked with Hawaii Life and Matt Beal, and we were working on a technology company startup.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that particular startup the brokerage needed to just say, hey, I just don't think we're going to go down this path long term. And we kind of cut that short. And so Morgan had been seeing what I was doing with this company, with this startup, and reached out and said, hey, I would love it if you could bring some of what you're doing there and just all of your experience and bring it to Real Estate Webmasters. So we sort of sat down and crafted this role. I mean, he really helped me, understand my career journey, what I wanted to do, the things that I love to do. So we created sort of this hybrid sales, marketing, industry, front-facing role that still allowed me to do all of the speaking that I wanted to do and allowed me to go to the conferences and be face-to-face, which to me is really important.
Yep.
So it's been a great role for me to be able to step into. I've been so excited, not only, I think sort of the silver lining that I got out of it was the REW family, which is, immediately you go there and I know that we have you on our docket to come out to Vancouver and kind of experience that. We need to have you out there. We've talked about it actually a few times internally, but you kind of get out there, and when you see the campus of Real Estate Webmasters, I mean, it's a 3-building campus that takes up a whole block. I mean, it's had a restaurant attached to it. It's got, skylights in the rooms, and it's got an amazing group of people that are very, very tech savvy. But I think my role in particular is helpful because I'm out with the national real estate, sort of lens. Yeah. And I can bring that back into the team, and the team can take that information and the challenges and really work that into our innovation. And we get that from you too, from our clients.
Yeah. So that's what you're trying, you're reaching out to brands, you're connecting them and kind of like bridging the gap between technology. Because I know how this works, right? I know how like the guys that do the tech, they get boxed in, right? And so, if you don't have someone that is just, kind of speaking the other language, then you might lose some things, right?
Well, yeah. And I think that particularly like you there are two different mindsets for specifically for brokerages, whether they're independent or not.
Yeah.
And some of them really just would prefer to sort of outsource everything from marketing to lead gen to, they want to build a company, but they want to outsource everything and make that their strategy. We work best with people like you who say, I'm going to own my strategy. I'm going to build, I am hands-on. I'm going to build it. I'm going to figure out the tech. I'm going to figure out where this is going to put me in 5 to 10 years because I'm going to own it. I'm not going to outsource everything out and hope for the best. So we've realized over time that our people, our family, are the people that are not outsourcing everything, but are building from within, and they're embracing that. And that takes a certain type of focus, agility, flexibility, the ability and need to experiment in a way that you figure out what works, and you're constantly reinvesting. We want people that reinvest, that aren't just throwing money out and hoping for the best.
Well, like one thing we did is like I hired a full-time content writer. So I do outsource, right? But she's putting out like, I mean, she's putting out 3,000 words a week. I'm putting out about 700 words a week. Right. And like I have a Google AdWords guy that I work with, but I meet with him every 2 weeks. An hour long. Like I part of that is a passion for it.
Yes.
So one of the things that we brought you that I wanted to ask you about was agent branding, right? So let me read my question here. So okay, I think this is, and what is interesting is Real Estate Webmasters has really kind of stepped into this role, right? Where you guys are doing, as a company within a company and then you have a long history of this, right? You guys are helping agents with branding, or really team leads, companies, whatever you call it, rebranding, which interesting enough, I had done that right before you guys started, and it was a lovely process. I loved it. What do you think an agent's, not brokers or team leaders, but what is an agent's biggest hurdle with establishing a personal brand?
I would have a couple of different feedback things, but I think one of the biggest challenges that agents are facing right now, especially if they're new agents coming into the industry, is that we have a huge influx of influencer marketing out there, where personality takes precedence over your reputation of doing the work. I think that a lot of newer agents are really working to build a brand that creates sort of the influencer brand, rather than create a true customer client experience that builds their brand reputation. So I think we kind of have a tendency to go for the quick tactics and the quick results and the flashy new things to try to build up some, make a splash. And those really aren't the long-term ways to continue to connect over time. And we know, you and I both know, that the majority, that 75% or more of your business is going to come from repeat and referral business, that your new business is going to come from the people that are coming into your world, can immediately look at your digital presence, your one-on-one, emailing, the way that your presence is in the industry. That's how they know if you're the right person. They're not looking to Instagram influencers. So to me, that's the biggest hurdle.
And you're right. So I have this thought about this, and I see this a lot, right? Like the term influencer is, especially for the younger people, a lot younger than me, they have this vision of it, and they think that it's like, okay, I could be an influencer, do a lot of business, whatever, right? But my version, and I would not consider myself an influencer, but my version of social media work and building a personal brand and being a quote influencer, if you're gonna tackle that, right, is education. So we do a lot of social media work with our agents. I love working with social media, and I talk to agents all the time. It's like, go out there and sell, go out there and teach, go out there them and show, show people, when, have your video camera, your cell phone with you at all times. And if you're in an inspection and you see something that, train your mind to think of content that the average consumer doesn't think about, right?
Right.
Like a Federal Pacific box that is, most people don't know that thing needs to be replaced, right? Or just, just any type of thing that your job as someone who's trying to teach social media or trying to use social media to get business,
yes,
is to let the person know that about something that they did not know about. Okay.
Yes.
And also let them know that you might be able to tell them stuff that they would not have found if they had not have seen you on social media, right?
Exactly.
Which is about what you talked about. It's not about making it about, I think people think of the word influencer and they think me, when it should be them.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think that there's a lot of articles about building a personal brand.
Yeah.
But that's far different than building a legacy business.
Yeah.
That you will take with you. And I think for agents too, they have a tendency to get in the personal brand trap because they realize that they are with a brokerage that may not give them sort of the tools necessary to market themselves. So they lean very heavily into the very easy and the quick. But I think that ultimately, building a brand is so much more than just kind of having the influencer attitude or the hustle or having this like online persona that sort of drives. It's, I mean, if we saw our doctors and our lawyers doing that all the time, and I'm not saying that there's not a place for it,
sure,
but I think that if we suddenly started to see all of our doctors and lawyers and the people that we need in our world start to just be this like flashy persona, we would start to, sort of question really, where's their heart? Is their heart with me? Is their heart with me to help me solve my problem? Are they there to educate me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really part of just not really clearly understanding your unique value proposition, that you're trying to create something that you haven't just gone through that process of any branding process, whether it's personal or professional, takes the discovery process of understanding your values and understanding what your purpose and your mission is. And even on a very personal level, if your reason for getting into real estate and if your reason for sticking through it is A, B, and C, having a really clear understanding of that and wrapping that education as a big hug around what you're putting out there is really what resonates the most and does it long term.
Yeah, and I would say that, I believe, because we teach it, I've taught classes on it, I teach my agents on it, I believe that you should have as strong a social media presence as possible, but instead of, having this, what especially the younger generation thinks of as an influencer persona, is come from the place of servitude, right?
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest, I put these out here. I put, videos, I do Facebook remarketing with these videos. And the goal, and this is probably the first time I ever said it, is I want to attract people. I want to attract agents. I want agents to look at me and say, you know what? I want to work with that guy.
Right.
And
what that is positioning.
Yes.
Okay. So any brand needs to understand their strategic position in the industry. Where it's not about a goal, but it's about, understanding what your position is. If you're coming from a place of education and servitude, then that is your position. And you can figure out how far out you want that to go. Now you're on a national stage, you're writing and people are listening to that thought leadership. But you didn't get into it just to be a thought leader.
No.
You got into it to really be that person that helps the person next to you, and no matter what their goals are. And that's helped to position you to be the one to listen to. If it had gone the other way around, if you had said, you know what, I'm a brand new agent, I'm gonna start writing about everything that I know, and I'm gonna have this hustle, nailed it sort of attitude, it probably wouldn't work as well for you long term. It may
No,
be
because that
a
wasn't,
short,
yeah, it
and
wasn't the goal for me. It was the
right.
goal.
If
Yeah,
it's a vanity metric, if
yeah,
it's what we call vanity metrics, do not serve to build a brand.
yeah,
They really don't. We
yeah,
have to get away from having a strong media presence. Social media in particular is not just about the engagement and the likes,
yeah,
but it's really what really is fascinating to me is if you go to a conference and you meet someone, and you shake their hand and you're meeting them for the first time, are you the same person that you appear to be on social media?
yeah.
Are you saying the same things? Are the things that you say on social media really resonating with me? And that's what makes me want to reach out and work with someone is if I see that positioning that they've put themselves in is really
Yeah.
true to who they are.
Humility, right?
Humility.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think
So,
people are seeing through the fog of I'm only happy on social media, right? Like
oh,
I'm always
absolutely.
happy on social media. Being
Yeah.
more authentic and being more vulnerable and like humble, I think is people don't want we don't want to follow perfect people.
Well, no, and I say this all the time. There's a difference between authenticity and transparency.
Yeah,
Authenticity is being real. It's having humility. It is the ability to be able to go out there and um, um, be really who you are and be genuine.
yeah,
But transparency is something that's a little bit different.
yep,
We don't want the TMI. We
yeah,
don't
right.
we don't necessarily want to, I mean, unless it's something that is, you know, I
Valuable.
mean, well, and if you're building a brand, you
Yeah,
also need to know the threats that you might put out there without really recognizing it.
yeah,
You may not recognize your blind spots in terms of you're building your brand, but you don't realize that some of the things that you're saying or doing
yeah,
are actually and it's not so much the topic matter as much as it could be the way that you're saying things.
yeah,
Um, I've seen so many reputations destroyed by trying to do something cool and fun and that was fun in marketing, not really realizing that your mom and dad might think that's funny, but you know what? It got you fired,
yeah.
or it really, created a bad taste in someone's mouth because it wasn't really true to who you are as a person.
Right. You're doing
So
talking all to in order to kind of I don't know bring attention to yourself, but
yeah.
that's not who it doesn't work for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Yeah.
And we all need to experiment, which is true.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes we don't realize the things that we put out there sometimes take away from everything that we're trying to build.
Yeah.
So that idea of transparency, I'm going to be totally transparent. I'm going to tell you when I'm sad. I'm going to tell you when I'm depressed. I'm going to tell you everything
Yeah.
that's going on in my life
Too much.
because that's being authentic. Well, I understand that to a point.
Yeah.
But when you are building confidence, when you are building thought leadership, when you are building ideas and inspiration and aspiration for the people around you, there's a certain level of responsibility that you have.
Yeah.
With power comes great responsibility
Yeah.
of really not just taking care of yourself, but taking care of those people that you're now bringing into your world.
Yeah.
They want that trust is walking into someone's home and feeling welcome and feeling like that you're understood.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we confuse that authenticity with transparency and get a little carried away.
Yeah.
But we have to kind of constantly experiment and do new things.
No, this has been a great conversation, and I really enjoyed this conversation. If
Yeah, me
anyone's
too.
watching this, Kelly, and if anyone's watching, someone is going to be watching
I
this.
hope someone's going to be watching.
But if you're watching this and you're interested in subscribing to future broadcasts, type the word agent
Please
below.
do.
Kelly is going to be putting your information, where to find you, your website, your Facebook, your Instagram, all in the comment section below, so you can follow Laura. Laura, thank you for your time today, and
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Ryan. Thank you, and we'll see you up in Canada soon.
I would love that. But that's news to me, but I would love to do that.
I would love it. Good. Well, the invite is open. We gotta get some dates set and get you up there.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Take care, Ryan. It was good visiting with you today.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.